everybody, and welcome to the Album of the Year podcast. My name is Kris, and with me, as always, to my right is Marty.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
Kris is starting the podcast for the first time, and so things are upside down, topsy-turvy.
That's
dogs
right.
and cats living
Crazy
together.
Crazy world, man.
Mass hysteria,
wow.
I would say. It's we're doing things a little differently today because we're really just here. We're totally phoning it in at this point because we're only going to talk to you for about 5 minutes and then rip into something that we've already recorded.
That's right.
Before we get into that, I kind of wanted to kind of talk to you guys about what you're about to hear. It's a concept that we came up with. Basically, we have a kind of an issue with this podcast, which is that there's a lot of work that kind of goes into it to get started, right? We got to pick the year, we got to listen, we got to go into all of the, research that we've got to do. I've got to listen to Marty's album, he's got to listen to mine, we've got to decide what we want to talk about. And the problem is that, and it turned out to be a lot more work than kind of expected.
Yeah.
And that's totally cool. You know, like I don't have a problem with that, but it does mean that if we want to kind of keep our schedule cadence going.
Yeah. And it's kind of like Kris said, with the amount of work that comes into actually, researching, recording and producing an episode, it's kind of, it's sometimes advantageous for us to not take a break, but maybe say, hey, like, let's take a step back and let's maybe try something just a little bit more organic. And that is where the Minisode idea kind of came into play, as Kris was saying. And essentially what we do is Kris, why don't you kind of take the reins?
The idea that I had was that this is, this podcast kind of grew out of conversations Marty and I would have at lunch.
That's right.
So I said, why don't we just totally like mumblecore style. Why don't we just record ourselves on an iPhone or something and just having go to lunch, talk about some stuff. We'll have a topic and then let's just record that and see if that's something worth sending out. And so this last Monday we did that.
we did do that, and it was.
And it was going to be a pilot, basically.
Yeah, it was going to be, we were just going to see how it worked and what it sounded like and how it felt to us. And I thought it sounded real good. Like I felt really good about it after we did it. And essentially the idea is we start recording it as soon as we get into the car. Like we open the doors to the car to go to lunch. Recording starts then, and it just records us throughout the whole lunch until we basically are walking back into work from the parking garage, essentially.
Right.
And we had the first topic we had was mixtapes, right?
Right.
So each episode there's going to be kind of a broader topic, a not as so binary or specific topic as here's a year and here's 2 albums. It's just something that's broader that has to do with music. So this particular episode kind of explored, mixtapes and all their various forms and functions and kind of how they operate in the world of music and relationships, as we found out, right?
Right.
It was really a lot of fun. Would you agree with that, Kris?
Yeah, I definitely would. The one concern that I have is that I kind of want to send it out as is. I don't want to do a lot of editing on it. I'd like to just, so we order, there's a section where I'm moving plates around for a little bit and all this. And there is a concern that I have that it might come across as self-indulgent to people who are not you and me. I kind of feel like this time out, let's not worry about it.
Yeah,
but I definitely want to hear what the response is from folks, whether or not they think that's fun or whether they're like, listen, I don't want to hear you eating your shrimp. Just, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not. So the thing is that I think it's too early in this thing to start second guessing ourselves. Let's just do it.
Let's just get it out there. Yeah. And that's kind of the plan, the plan behind the impetus of this Lunchtime Minisode series. So we just want to see what people think of it once it's out there and live in the world. And like Kris said, you're going to hear us in the restaurant. You're going to hear the restaurant staff calling order numbers out. You're going to hear just hustle and bustle. And we really like that. We really think that's interesting and cool and that kind of thing. So
we hope you do too.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Why don't we say, without further ado, I think we'll come back at the end just to kind of cap it off.
Exactly.
But without further ado, let's listen to Lunchtime.
Here it is, Lunchtime episode or Lunchtime Minisode number 1, Mixtapes. Thanks, guys. All right. I'm ready. We're rolling, dude. We're rolling. Let's do it.
Oh, I should probably unlock.
Cool.
Distracted.
It's all good, man.
I'm more about podcasts and I'm thinking about lunch.
I know. I hear you.
Hey, guys. So, sorry for the guerrilla style recording here. Usually we use pro equipment, but today,
Pro audio,
baby. That's your. That would be a pretty good name for the production company.
This is already really
Pro
fun.
Audio.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, yeah, we were talking
about those guys. They don't ever have anything interesting to say. But Pro Audio,
Pro Audio. It's the shit, man. What did we say? So last night we saw The Breeders.
Oh, God, that was so good.
They were amazing.
They were really great.
The girl next to Chris said she wanted to marry Kim Deal.
Yeah, and I think if she couldn't marry Kim Deal, I think she wanted to marry me.
Yeah.
I was like second in line. So, I don't know about that.
So anyway, back to I'm sorry to kind of go a sidestep there, but we were at the Breeders show last night, and on the way home, we decided that the name of our production company for the podcast is going to be Biscuit Wheels Entertainment. Yes, right? Is that right? Wheels. Yeah, I love it because we're riding on a gravy train with biscuit wheels. I heard that somewhere years ago, and Chris and I were talking about something, and I kind of alluded to that as a...
Yeah, I think I said the gravy train, and you said with biscuit wheels.
That's
and
right.
I'd never heard the biscuit wheels part before.
Yeah.
And I just cracked me up.
It's pretty funny. But anyway, so I'm sorry for that aside, Chris, but this is a pilot of a new Minisode concept we're going to test here. It's called Lunchtime, and this podcast kind of grew out of Chris and I going to lunch together and talking about music, en masse, basically. And we're going to go ahead and just go to lunch. We're on our lunch break right now. We're driving to the destination where we are going to have our lunch, and we are going to talk about one topic, essentially. Is that about right?
Yeah, just basically a music topic. And one thing that we want to make sure is clear, this isn't a replacement for what we normally are going to do. This is a Minisode thing. Basically, there is a lot of work that has to go into doing an episode of this podcast, more than I think I was expecting.
Yeah,
but,
it's a lot.
We got to have time to pick out the year, pick out the albums, listen to them, figure out what we want to say, and so it creates a natural problem, which is that that amount of effort has to be squeezed into a 2-week period. So, what that means is that, practically speaking, we're either going to have an irregular release schedule, which I don't think either of us want, or we've got to kind of come up with something that can give us a little bit of time to keep the quality up and prepare for a regular episode. So this is kind of an idea that we had where we could talk about a music topic, something interesting. It's a shorter episode. I know some people are looking forward to that. Yeah. And it's a chance to just do something a little different and keep things varied.
Absolutely. And as Chris was saying with the shorter episodes, we understand that not everyone can listen to a 2.5, 3 hour episode, or maybe they'll just listen to part of it or skip ahead, and that's totally fine. Totally cool. However you choose to digest this content is completely your decision, but we think this is cool because it will be 30 to 45 minutes of us just kind of talking about music. So, or, a musical topic, essentially.
Some kind of topic.
Yeah, right. And this was Chris's idea. Again, Chris is kind of the idea man with this podcast. I feel like I'm kind of not pulling my weight.
No, man, I'm the idea man, and then you actually make it interesting.
It's still like the episode, we're editing episode 3. Well, we're just about done editing episode 3, and it should be posted here shortly, probably tomorrow. But I was listening to the final limiter master last night, and I came across the part where I said it's like the Olympic, pedestal, and Chris is the U.S. and I'm Finland. And in the idea realm, I'm certainly Finland at this point.
No, but here's the thing about that.
Not a knock on the Finnish people at all.
As soon as you said that, the I don't know if you remember, but you heard about the Miracle USA team.
The Miracle on Ice.
Yeah, the Miracle on Ice, right?
Yeah.
So they had to beat the Russians, right? The U.S. did.
Yeah.
But then the thing a lot of people don't know is they had to beat another team to actually get the gold. And you know what team that was?
Finland. Of course.
So you're doing all right,
so
man.
Subconsciously, oh my God.
You're still number 2.
That's amazing, dude. Oh, wow.
So what's our topic?
So our topic today is mixtapes.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about how we wanted to talk about this, so I like it that we have to kind of figure it out. By the way, I'm driving right now.
Yeah, Chris is driving, and I'm holding my iPhone, that's how we're recording this episode.
Biscuit Wheels Productions, baby.
Yeah, Biscuit Wheels Productions moving into 2018, man. Mixtapes are something I feel like that are synonymous with relationships. Since from the time I was I think I've made every girl that I've dated a mixtape or mix CD, whatever.
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was going to say that it's funny because one of the things that you really noticed, throughout the years of making mixtapes is like how much the technology changes. Like, as it started out, I had one of those boom boxes, like CD boom boxes that had a cassette deck and a CD player, and then the radio, obviously. And you could record things on cassette that you would listen to on CD. That was the original way that I made mixtapes.
Yeah. Well, I would go back.
I don't know about you.
But to me, I agree with you that they are largely associated with relationships, but I see mixtapes a little broader. My first mixtape that I ever made was recording stuff off the radio for myself.
Yeah, me too.
So back in the 80s when I was listening to like oldies radio and stuff, and one good thing about listening to a format like that is that, they have years and years and years of hits to draw from. So there would be, it wouldn't be like a top 40 where they're sort of rotating in the same songs all the time.
Yeah.
Like, although they do have the songs they play freaking, Walk Like a Man 10 times a day. But, theoretically, they could play songs from all over the place. So, but the downside is that if you have a favorite song, you may hear it once and then you don't hear it again for a month, right?
Yeah.
So as a kid, what I used to do, and this is like 85, 86,
wow, you're digging way back. I wasn't doing mixtapes back then.
So I'm just a child at this point. But one of the things that I did, and this is our turn?
Yeah, go ahead and you can flip it up here.
We're going to a place called Asia Cafe.
One of our favorites.
Yeah. This was actually the place we were going into, the Asia Cafe, when
I suggested we do a podcast.
Right. So it's totally appropriate that we go back.
I agree.
Here
It makes sense.
And it's a great place. So you're going to get to hear us order food and all kinds of just...
Yeah.
We may cut that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I think we leave it in.
Yeah, it's cinema verite, baby.
That's right.
It's very high-minded podcast we got going on here. Okay, so, when I was a kid, I used to, I did it really old-fashioned.
Yeah.
I had a little jam box, and I had an old Fisher-Price tape recorder.
Yeah, like everybody had some of those Fisher-Price.
Yeah, and I love that.
There was like a turntable, right?
Well, there was a turntable, which I also had, but they had like a brown Fisher-Price tape recorder that had a recorder on it, and it taught me to read as a kid. Like, it was a huge part of my life. So it's, in a way, not that unusual that I end up being like a sound recorder, like doing some engineering and stuff, because when I was 3 years old, it was a huge part of my life. But when I started listening to the radio a lot, I would actually put them next to each other and you can't get more like caveman than that. Put them next to each other and hit record on one and play the radio. Yeah. And so then I would have these mixtapes that had all these songs, and you'd get a little bit of DJ chatter and maybe a snatch of a commercial, or maybe you would listen to it and like only half the song, like it'd be halfway through the song before you figure, I love this. So you would get like half of Only You by the, or something. By the Platters, and it would be
like the drugstore jingle or something.
Exactly. But then when you played them back, they had like a cool vibe, just like random stuff. And then like I would listen to them so much that I would just remember them. So there are songs that in my head, like Catch Me If You Can by the Dave Clark 5, where I only think of like the last half of it because it was on the tape that way.
Right. Sorry, we got to get out of the car now. The transitions are going to be a little rough, but I think that's
great,
okay.
Though. Isn't that the fun of this?
Yeah, this is kind of raw. That's the point. What else was I going to say? I feel like those Fisher-Price little like pieces of electronics, I feel like they all started you off and giving you a lesson in like recording engineering. It's totally true. But. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Here we are. You can probably hear. Yeah, we're going to look like we're crazy or something, I'm sure. I love it too. It's great. Oh, man. Yeah. I think this honey walnut shrimp is that's going to be the deal today.
I think I'll try it too.
Yeah? Okay.
Is that too boring for the podcast?
No.
To eat the same thing? Some people think that's like a major faux pas.
We're not doing a food podcast. We're doing a music podcast. Right. So who cares?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Right. You guys don't care, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm totally a joiner today. So
yeah.
But so I remember making those, and I had a series of those when I got older. I had the same sort of thing where you could actually record straight from the radio signal through the one individual thing. You didn't have to set two boom boxes next to each other. And
did you do that too?
Yeah, I did.
Really?
Yeah, that was how the original ones I made. But then
that's awesome.
Eventually, and so I had a series of these, and they all had like crazy nicknames and stuff. Like I had one that was called like Chris's Tape. to eat your vegetables. Or there was one called like the 7 Sea Lions, which was some kind of pun on that. I don't know. I don't even understand where the names were, but they all had like these silly names, and it was almost like, and it was like jokes being made for myself.
That's really interesting.
But the tracks, like I said, like they had a flow to them that meant something to me, and like to this day,
of course.
I found a couple of them. I don't own them all, but I can still put them on and like know what's coming up next.
Really?
Like I had the Sex Pistols, Anarchy in the UK. The first time I heard that was on KNAC, and it was on one of those tapes, and it was like I'd never heard it before, and I just recorded it on a whim. Wow. And then it was like, this song is awesome, and so that's how I came to know that song. I was just listening to it over and over again on this homemade mixtape that I made for myself.
Played the Sex Pistols?
Yeah, not all the time.
Yeah,
but,
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, they were pretty cool station.
That's awesome.
Like I saw at ACL Fest just happened, and there was a video for or a photo of someone had a giant Psycho Baby flag.
Really?
At ACL, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, so the radio station's been gone for 20 years, and someone's still flying a flag.
I will say that we only have about 35 Instagram followers right now, but the KNAC where you used Evie as the KNAC baby, it's getting some traction.
Oh, is it?
A little bit, yeah.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, there's probably about 30 likes, I'd say.
People remember that thing.
Yeah.
And you can never go wrong with a picture of a cute baby.
Exactly.
That's what we need to. That's marketing, man. We need to totally exploit cute babies. Just
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Anyway. So that was my first thought.
So we're gonna order here.
You said it was.
Oh, I get a
where is that?
honey walnut shrimp.
Honey walnut.
Yeah. Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Can I do the honey walnut shrimp, please?
Over here.
4 here, please. And then could I also get a Topo Chico for the drink?
Sure.
Awesome.
Honey walnut shrimp and Topo Chico. Do you like the egg drop soup that come with it?
Is there any other soup you can get? Any other choices?
Either the egg drop soup or the pickle salad.
Let's do egg drop soup.
Egg drop
Good.
soup?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. 2051, sir.
There you go.
21 points.
Awesome.
Next time you have 91.
Awesome. Thank you.
They were like joking about it. I contribute without I buy groceries, 2 cases, $6,000.
Thank you very much. Sign it. Absolutely. There you go.
Okay, I give you a Topo Chico here. I have no other.
Oh, perfect. Thanks. Thank you.
I'm going to order the same thing. So walnut and a Topo Chico.
Doing that Topo as well?
Yeah, well, because I'm trying to cut out all the sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like the egg drop soup or pickle salad?
Let's do the salad.
There you go.
2051. Bring the Topo Chico here.
Okay, I'll go grab them real quick. Yeah, man. The bottles and cans and just clap your hands kind of thing, right? It's a good reference. Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad. Topo Chico for you. Thank you so much.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, where are we at? Back here? Let's do it. All right.
Where it's at?
So we have ordered our meal. Is this table a little wobbly?
It is a little bit.
Yeah, let's reload
it.
yeah. Let's go up and see what this one's like. This one seems much better.
Much better. We can't be wobbly. We got pro audio to live up to, bro.
What's that?
We got pro audio we got to live up to.
We got Biscuit Wheels Entertainment.
Yeah.
So yes.
Did you do stuff like that, like recording stuff off the
Absolutely,
radio?
I did.
Yeah.
I don't, and I don't think I realized they were mixtapes at the time, but I absolutely recorded songs off the radio.
Yeah. Did you listen to them a whole lot and stuff, or was it just kind of?
Yeah.
That was just like a common thing in the era of cassettes, you know?
And I used to do like I remember recording songs off the radio and off like CDs and stuff, and I remember doing like almost like a mashup thing back then, where I would like have snippets of songs, of hip hop songs, and I would kind of mash them all together as best I could.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I did
almost like a pause tape.
Yeah, kind of
right?
like the pause tape Tribe Called Quest. Yeah, I had like 2 of those, and it was a lot. I remember it being a lot of work, so I think I kind of stopped at some point.
Yeah,
oddly enough, which I shouldn't have. I should have kept going. Did she say 38?
I don't think so. Unless that dude's still in your.
That is
your
not
food.
mine. I don't think that was shrimp, so I think we're good. But yeah, it was really fun too. I remember. I don't know why I stopped doing it, which kind of because I would have like the
technology changed. You know,
yeah,
it was like CDs. You wouldn't really record live like that.
That's true. That's true.
You know,
yeah.
But that brought on the whole other thing, which I think is what you were getting at, which is like where you're recording mixtapes for other people using your CD collection. Which
exactly.
Was, you know, a huge. Starting with tapes, you know, it was like a huge thing, and I actually loved the process of doing that because you had to play it live when you were going to a tape. Right?
Yeah.
So you would sit there. I know, like I would have an idea of like, okay, I want these 10 songs. These will say the most perfect thing to the girl I like at school.
Yeah.
So I'd have them sitting there, and I kind of have an idea of like I know what I'd want to open with, you know, and and then the next track. But then you'd be halfway through the second track or something, and what you have planned for the third track you're not feeling it anymore.
Yeah.
So then you'd be like, no, not that track, something else, you know. And so it was like almost like a personal and almost slightly improvisational feel to making a mixtape.
Absolutely. It was kind of a lot of people's first chance to actually be creative. Even, I mean, did you make mixtapes before you learned how to play guitar and all that stuff? Or
yeah, I guess
really?
I did. Yeah.
I
mean, I learned to play guitar starting at 15, so it was probably kind of simultaneous.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it would have been a little bit earlier than that.
Right. There's a. Do you know the rap group Atmosphere? Are you familiar with them at all?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
So I'm a big fan, and one of their songs, they have a song called "Don't Forget," and it's all about like growing up, essentially, and growing up and like trying to talk to girls and listening to music. And one of the lyrics he talks about getting a 15 pack of blank cassettes for Christmas.
Yeah.
It's like in girls' digits, a 15 pack of blank cassettes for Christmas. Like that was like something that was actually coveted. Like, oh yeah, man, now I'm gonna make like 15 mixtapes now.
Yeah. I mean, I remember how excited I'd go to Walmart and there would be like you'd see like, okay, well here are the Maxells.
Yeah.
And they're better than the Sony
the TDK.
ones. Yeah, there would be like some it's like, well those aren't as good and they're like the 60-minute rather than 90 minutes. But sometimes you wanted the 60 minutes because you don't want to blow.
You don't want to put too much on there.
Exactly. 90 could be too long.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah, so and I totally would like spend what little pocket money I had on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all the time. For sure. Me too. Yeah.
So did you make some good mixtapes? Like, would you remember some that you made?
Yeah. Well, and I remember too. Like, we would do like, okay, side A is like DJ Quick's album. Side B is like Too Short. Get in where you fit in, or whatever. When you had those 90-minute tapes, you could almost put like a whole album on one side, which was cool.
You could. Yeah.
And I remember doing that. Or I remember it's like this is just like the first 5 songs of DJ Quick, and side B would be like the last 5 songs of Snoop Dogg Doggy Style or something like that. Like that was done. But actual mixes I remember making. I wish I still had some of them, honestly, but I don't.
Yeah, because you gave them to girls,
that's true. That's true. And I remember like singles. Do you remember cassette singles that were in like the little sleeve?
Yeah,
I would use those to make mixtapes too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And do you also remember like if you had a cassette tape that was like a manufactured cassette tape that had an actual artist's music on it, you could put tape over the little holes at the top. And you could record whatever you wanted on it. So I remember when
40.
Are you number 40?
I'm 39.
Oh, 39, okay.
Yeah, so it's coming.
It's fine. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get weird, but
yeah.
I remember Vanilla Ice to the extreme.
Did you have the cassette?
Well, I had the cassette of that, and then like 2 years later, Vanilla Ice was dumb. Nobody liked him anymore.
Yeah.
So
it was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing to have. So what did you do? You taped it over so you could record a mixtape on it.
Right.
And it worked like a champ, dude. So good.
Yeah, I remember doing that. Like we didn't even put tape on it. We would take paper and ball it up.
Wad the paper in.
Yeah,
Could you do that? Did that work?
Yeah, it worked.
Really?
It was dumb. I don't know why we didn't just use tape. It's easier. But yeah, it's like, hey, I got a straw wrapper here. I got a great idea for this. Waste not, want not, man.
Oh my God.
Recycle, reduce, reuse.
That's awesome. Wow.
I
didn't realize you just had to actually fill up those squares with something.
Yeah, just any way to fill that up, because I guess how did you I remember when cassettes were going the way of the buffalo. It was like I remember saying to Steph, and I made mixtapes for her, and I made mixtapes and I introduced her to a lot of music and mixtapes, and actually it was really a good way for us to kind of get on the same page about music. She was eager to learn about music, but didn't really have an influence me in her life at that time.
Right.
You know? But so the mixtapes were great because it helped us get on the same page musically. But the cassettes were on their way out by that time. Or had been on the way out for a while.
Sure.
But I remember us thinking no one's going to miss this technology when it's gone. To me cassettes, at the time, I thought CDs
are far superior,
so superior, and everything. And it's interesting that in a way there is a cassette culture that's come back.
There's a cassette store day now. There's a record store day, and now they have a cassette store. I think it's in November sometime.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
I didn't know, but I knew
crazy.
I was at Piranha Records the other day, and I saw that the latest Arcade Fire album was out on cassette, which I was really surprised to see. But
I agree with you. There's really there's merit in listening to vinyl records because you have the big packaging and you have the warm sound quality. Oh, that's me.
There you go, man.
All right. I'll be back.
Be right back. So, that's me. All right. So,
we'll both go up there. Yeah. Let's do it. It's both the same. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, man, this looks great. It does look great. I'm excited. Actually going to get some silverware and stuff, too. I need to get silverware.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot about that.
Are we not going to eat this shrimp with our hands?
No.
The exciting Kris pushes plates around section of the podcast. Be sure to tell us on Twitter whether we've lost our minds. What's up?
You okay?
Yeah.
I got spoons, forks, got chopsticks. I got it all. This looks really good, man.
So what were we saying about the...
So cassettes, right? So, there's something to be said about the fidelity of a vinyl record and all that, but by and large, I think you're right about cassettes. It's who cares? I mean, cassettes don't possess any kind of better sound quality. The packaging is really small and compact. They're kind of made as a means of convenience, right?
Right.
So, I mean, and that being said, though, I can't say I'm not intrigued by cassette culture making a resurgence. I want to buy cassettes, as dumb as that sounds, But
to me, that's something that I have a slight nostalgia for. I mean, my first album I ever bought was a cassette, right?
Yeah.
But
me too.
I had cassette singles. I had "Cream" by Prince on.
Oh, really?
On cassette single.
Single?
Yeah, I was 12 years old listening to that song. Over and over. No idea what they were singing about. Or not no idea, but I felt like I felt like there was some ambiguity in that song. There wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, not really. I mean, he's singing about what you think he's singing about.
Yeah.
But
what's that album, Diamonds and Pearls? It's a good album.
It is a good album. Speaking of good,
yeah,
Honey Walnut
Shrimp is pretty damn good. I'm into it. Oh,
yeah. This is the episode where you get to hear us eating while we chew our food.
That's right. So yeah. So, and I think that, you had to make a mixtape on a tape back then because you couldn't copy CDs. There was no iTunes.
Yeah, there was no other way to do it. Cassettes were the only way you could record anything. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And so like I said, I do think, though, the act of making a mix tape was fundamentally different than the act of making a mix CD. And I never had as much fun as making a mix CD as I had with the tapes. Because when you make a mix CD, you can mess with the playlist. It's like making a Spotify playlist, right?
That's true. And you just load it up in iTunes and you go...
And you might listen to it, and go, does this work? But it wasn't the same as like sitting there waiting for the song to finish.
That's true.
And there was like an anticipation, like, you'd hit pause and be like, what do I feel like hearing next? What's the next part of this musical journey I'm putting this poor girl that I have a crush on through, And so even though I did make a lot of mix CDs and had a lot of fun doing it, and probably ended up ultimately making more mix CDs because they were more convenient, especially in the age of iTunes where you could just like plug it in, make a playlist. Like Steph and I used to do the eMusic thing, like it said, where we would download all of these songs from eMusic, and it would be like, I've got 30 songs to download from eMusic left this month. People are saying this band, the Decemberists, is good. Let's get a Decemberist song then. What the heck, the Engine Driver? I've never heard this before. They say this is a highlight. Okay, well, I'll download that and then put it on this mix CD. Yeah. And at that point, it's not even like it's it's sort of like random at that. Yeah. It ended up being like I said when we talked about it before, a replacement for radio for us. Sort of like, but so the convenience of mix CDs, of making mix CDs, made that possible.
Right.
But a little bit of the vibe was lost. Yeah, I
feel like that's true. I thought it was still fun though.
Mm-hmm. Well, it didn't stop me.
Me neither. But people talk about, like I was saying, the tactility of records and stuff. That was a very tactile thing to do back then, making a mixtape and having to listen to the whole song. You know, because you're right, it could kind of steer you in a different way. Well, I thought I wanted to put Devil's Haircut next, but really it should be this song or whatever.
Yeah. And then you'd be like, I really want to get Devil's Haircut on here, but I only have 15 minutes left, and I know I got to have, this other song or whatever, November Rain. I got to squeeze November Rain in here somewhere, and it's going to take up 9 minutes or however long.
That song is really
I don't know if it's quite that long. It's long, though. I think if that song was 2 minutes long, it'd be too long.
Yeah? You're not a fan of that song?
Not that one.
Yeah.
There's stuff that they do that I like.
I like the epicness of that song. I like that they were kind of going for this theatrical feel, And the video felt like you were watching a movie,
That's true. I remember loving the video when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And liking the song, but never loving the song. It was like, okay. But the video was just like, insane.
It was insane. But anyway, GNR is, I suppose, another conversation for another day. But yeah, I think that, I don't know if I made mixed tapes, like cassette tapes, mixes on cassette tapes. I don't know if I made any of those for a girl per se.
Really?
I can't remember, man. I must have.
So, the most epic mixtape I ever made. So, like, my high school sweetheart broke up with me.
Ooh.
And so it was like, and I always made her mixtapes anyway, so I probably made her like 5 or 6 mixtapes.
Senior year?
Yeah, senior year.
Wow.
Actually, I was in college and she was in high school still, so it was like one of those deals where, we were only getting to see each other a little bit, and she was like, I ain't having that,
Yeah.
So, and I get it, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the time, of course, I was devastated. And so I made, like one last mixtape for her. And it was like telling the story of like my feelings at that moment, and it had all these songs on it that, like expressed love, but then contradicted it. I think like I had It Ain't Me Babe on there.
Oh, wow.
And stuff, and it's like, that doesn't even make sense, it was like, that's a song about being happy to leave, but she was leaving me, and so it was very interesting, like my emotional state when I made it, because it was very like raw, and I never gave it to her. So I had this mixtape for years that, kind of with my stuff, and I would listen to it every now and then, and I became sort of more and more embarrassed of it as I went on, because it was so like kind of emo in a way. This was before all that.
Yeah.
And so when I came time to, so I was an English major in my senior year. I didn't do like an actual dissertation, but it was like the senior year you had to take a senior English class, and you had like a big writing project at the end of that, and that was like the closest you had to like a senior thesis or something.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote what I called an anatomy of a mixtape, and it broke down that mixtape and like what it meant and how it flowed and all that kind of stuff.
And then your professor was like, "You need to be writing for You need to be Robert Christgau."
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, "You need to be writing for Rolling Stone. Like this is amazing."
That is amazing, Chris. Like I feel like that could be a book that you could see in Barnes and Noble or something.
Yeah, the anatomy of a mixtape.
It's perfect.
I mean, in retrospect, I feel like it's kind of self-indulgent and stuff, and a little emo, but it was pretty. I mean, the actual writing of it was pretty like straightforward, like what this means, how mixtapes work, how mixtape culture works, that kind of thing.
I don't think there's anything wrong with expressing your feelings, though. I think
You're right.
I think a lot of people and a lot of critics also have this very kind of wanton, however you want to say it, opinion that anyone that like bares their soul or expresses their opinion or whatever, they're kind of like that's kind of passé and that's bullshit and that's been done before. But that's a really
juvenile or whatever.
Human experience. Why? I agree.
No, you're right. I think it's probably just because it's me. Like it's one of those things where if it was someone else, I would probably recognize the humanity of it. Where it's my own mixtape, me expressing my broken-hearted feelings through the genre of the mixtape. It's too raw or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some embarrassing crap on that mixtape too, which I called out in the
like what?
The article. Too embarrassing. I'm not even going to say it on the podcast.
Come on, dude. We talked about crisscross. Come on.
No,
all right.
more embarrassing than that.
All right.
No, I'll say it. There was a Ray Stevens song on it.
Oh, right.
Like, how the heck did a Ray Stevens song get up?
You got some Eric the Awful on there, bro?
Yeah, it was a song, though, that she had referenced once. So it was like I put it on there because it was something I knew she would like.
Yeah. He was like the country version of like Weird Al, wasn't he?
Kind of. I don't think he did like style or like song parodies, but he did like comedy records or whatever. Almost like a country version of Spike Jones or something. Like the old Spike Jones. And not good. Like really, in retrospect, a lot of it is
bad.
Well, there's like weird like racial undercurrents in some of this stuff and everything. It's like. I do not recommend getting into the oeuvre of Ray Stevens.
The oeuvre?
Yeah. But, if you were, if you were a kid growing up in Texas in the 80s, you heard The Streak, you heard Mississippi Squirrel Revival and stuff.
Yeah,
and so, and there are a couple of things by him that I still think hold up, but for the most part,
it's
not worth it. Yeah, so we can have Lou Christie and Ray Stevens come beat us up next week.
Ray Stevens might be dead.
Nope.
He's still alive?
I think he's living in Branson, Missouri.
Oh, whoa, God. What better place for him? Mm-hmm. Like, if I had to guess where Ray Stevens would live now, Branson, Missouri would be.
I think he's got a theater named after him.
Of course he does.
Yeah, the Ray Stevens Theater. You can go hear him do Ahab the Arab 3 times a day.
Yakov Smirnoff opens up. Oh my God, dude, that's so funny.
So, where do you think? Well, there's another thing we should talk about with mixtapes. So, the phrase mixtape has kind of morphed now, and a lot of rappers do mixtapes. And it's almost like my understanding, and I don't know as much about hip hop culture as you do, and I don't have like a big collection of mixtapes. I see them a lot at Piranha, particularly. Yeah. They always have like these obscure mixtapes from Houston and stuff like that,
like chopped and screwed stuff. And all that.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, they've sort of become like a demo reel, especially for like to build hype for new albums and things like that, right?
Well,
like that's kind of
that was their original intent, but now I feel like a mixtape in hip hop is, I just went into the studio and recorded 6 songs over the weekend. Here they are,
Yeah.
Not necessarily in anticipation of an album or anything like that, but I just, me and Nicki Minaj just busted out these 6 tracks and 10 tracks or whatever, and like here they are. It's the whatever mixtape. It's informal, right? Albums I feel like are something that there's a lot of times even with the rap, the hip hop now that I don't care for, there's like a concept like that Travis Scott guy, like he has that Astro World album. Like that is clearly not a mixtape. That's an album, you know. It has a concept behind it, whatever, you know. And a mixtape is just something that's looser, something that doesn't have
almost like a B-side collection or something. Well, you know, like how B-sides a lot of times were an opportunity for a band to kind of go off message a little bit. Yeah. Play around with genre, play with styles they don't usually do. Right. Try a direction that may not work entirely. It's a place to experiment. Yeah, and mixtapes have kind of become that, would you say?
In a way, yeah. I think, yes, I would agree with that, and also just to like get the music out there and see what people think. You know, it's like how we talked about Weezer last night, how they kind of crowdsourced that. Raditude? Maladroit, yeah. And how, you know, internet technology with music was still kind of in its infancy, and they got on like the message boards and said, what songs do you guys like, and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's kind of maybe a little bit of what the ethos behind a mixtape is, you know, a hip-hop mixtape. And I think back in the day, like back in the golden age, I remember there was this rap group, I don't remember the name, but they had a song called Mixtapes, and the refrain was, I used to make mixtapes, but now I'm an MC. So it's almost like mixtapes were a rite of passage. It's something you did to kind of build yourself up, and then like a major label heard your mixtape and signed you, because that's kind of how it worked back then. So yeah, I think,
and that's, I guess, maybe I haven't moved with the times. When I think of it in a hip hop context, I still think of it that way. Like, didn't like 50 Cent kind of blow up because his mixtape, like people heard his mixtape, and it was like, oh, this guy 50 Cent, you know, like.
But that was still in the early 2000s. You know, like 1999. Yeah,
exactly.
And that was made before he got shot and before he sounded all whiny. Seriously. I'm not even joking. Like, but yeah, that was still the model then, like how 50 got his shine, or 50, however you want to say it. But
it's just interesting that the concept of a mixtape has survived past the age of tapes, and now cassettes are even coming back, and it seems relevant again. But you know, like the terminology hasn't gone away. No, it hasn't. Which is kind of
and
cool
I like that. Yeah, it's refreshing. Like, it's not just like a playlist or something, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, here's my. For some reason, that has no vibe, right? Like,
exactly.
Check out my new playlist.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what I tried to do, like in the age of like YouTube and stuff. Yeah. Like, I would have friends on social media, and I'd be like, "Hey, hit me if you want me to make you like some playlists on YouTube." And they would be like, "Yeah, I want to hear some blues," and so then I would like do a playlist of like a dozen blues songs, and it was like scratching the itch from the mixtape days.
Right.
But it was never the same, you know. It never felt like on the same level.
Yeah.
I still like to do that, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Hit me up. I mean, we do our mixes and stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually find that to be really fun.
I find it to be fun too. I added a bunch of stuff to 1985 too. Did you see that?
Oh, you're telling them what the next ep is.
Crap, we'll have to cut that. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, Chris. The year mixes are great. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. You guys, that might not make final cut.
No, maybe we can keep it in. It could be a little bit of a buzz builder.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know,
we do things fast and loose at what do we call ourselves? Biscuit Wheels Productions. Is it Biscuit Wheels? It's got to be
Biscuit Wheels. Yeah.
It's got to be plural.
Yeah.
Biscuit Wheels.
Yeah. It can't just be Biscuit Wheel.
Come on, that's lame.
That's so lame.
Yeah. You got to have all the wheels.
Yeah. The biscuit wheels are moving.
Get on the gravy train, kids.
That's right.
Biscuit wheels are pulling out of the station.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, man.
So do you still do like with Courtney? Do you do playlists for her or anything like that?
Not really. No. I made a mixed CD for her when we first got together, though, that she still listens to, and I put like a bunch of kind of like love songs on them, but I also put some stuff that she wouldn't probably hear. Normally, like I put a Superchunk song on it. There's a song called Water Wings, one of my favorite Superchunk songs.
Awesome.
I can't remember exactly what else, but like Pinback, do you know that band?
Yeah.
I put a Pinback song on there. She probably wouldn't have heard that. Yeah, so I mean, and then I also put like Charles Bradley and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, stuff she might. That's like kind of another song. An English beat can't remember what English beat song.
Is it the Sooner or Later?
No. That's the English beat?
Yeah, I think
really?
so.
I'm like, who good 90s band covered that song? Give way and
I don't know.
Save it for later.
So I know, like Pete Townsend did a cover of it.
Really?
Yeah.
It was like Eve 6 or somebody did a cover.
Oh,
of
really?
That song. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, Harvey Danger. That was.
Oh, that's worse.
Harvey Danger did a cover of that song, and I didn't. Everybody thought that was their song. Nobody knew it was a cover either.
Oh,
their version's actually not bad. But yeah, I put like an English beat song on there. Bunch of cool stuff, and she still listens to it because Courtney still listens to CDs in her car because she has no way of getting her iPhone working as far as music goes, I guess, or she does and she just can't figure it out. So
yeah,
she still listens to CDs and still sometimes makes CDs.
That's all. Steph kind of still listens to CDs too, actually, even though she does have the ability to connect up her phone and everything. But she just, I think she just likes the CDs. Like you'll notice at our house, we've got a big old rack of CDs.
The CDs,
yeah. And I said to her before, like, let's take those CDs and let's put them in a box and let's put them. Like, we don't need them out,
Yeah.
And she's like, no, like,
I like these.
Yeah. So there is something tactile about physical media that is, I guess you were kind of hinting at that.
Well,
earlier,
and I think with Steph, like us '90s kids, man, like that, the CDs are embedded in our memory.
Right.
Like, whenever I got bad grades and my dad took away all my rap CDs, I remember missing them, and I remember that tactility and feeling like, it was like a friend was gone. But then I found where he hit him, and I just listened to him anyway. But
I wonder if CDs will ever kind of develop a cultural cachet of their own. Like they're right now in the place cassettes were, 12 years ago or something.
It's kind of interesting. My prediction is no, they won't, because cassettes have this kind of internal quirky mechanism about them. Records are big and warm, but CDs are just kind of boring, and it's like a small little disc. What am I supposed to do with this? Like, I don't know. I just
and there's no. I mean, they're digital, so it's the same thing as listening to a file. So
exactly.
So what's there's no fidelity difference really.
Yeah. Is it that the Wilco documentary? I Am Trying to Break Your Heart? Have you ever
Which I've never seen.
Excellent, but David Frick, the Rolling Stone.
I know that guy.
Yeah. I don't know what he's talking about, but he's trying to illustrate a point about like art and consumerism, and he calls a CD, he holds up a CD, he's like, this dopey little disc. And, the way he says how dopey it is, it actually made me believe it. Like, God, he's right. Like, CDs are so dumb. And I was still buying CDs at that time. This would have been like 2003, I think, when that documentary came out. And,
I still have a lot of affection for CDs, although, I understand that they don't really offer any advantage in the modern world or whatever, but that's how I was buying music as a kid.
Me too.
You'd get the little booklet and you'd read the booklet on your way home from the thing in your dad's car or whatever. There'd be crazy artwork in it, and while it's not like blown out and big the way it is in a vinyl release, you weren't buying Stone Temple Pilots core on vinyl. You were buying it on CD. And so it was designed around that experience.
Exactly.
So you pull the little booklet out of the sleeve and you're out of the case and you look at it. And
me and Mike, who I brought up quite a bit in this podcast, he lived down the street from Everybody's Records, which is still a great record. I go there every time I go back to Cincinnati, and whenever we were we were friends when we were both kind of in our early 20s, and I would come over to his house sometimes, and we would walk to Everybody's and buy CDs and like go back to his house and read the liner notes. And he would be like, oh shit, Danny Clinch took the photos on this. He's Fish's photographer. Mike is the big jam band guy. So he said, I forgot about what release he was talking about, but he recognized the name Danny Clinch, and Danny Clinch is a pretty renowned rock photographer who's been working since like the 80s. Kind of amazing.
I would always notice when someone had like an Anton Corbin cover or something, it would always be like this sort of moody, look like the Joshua Tree or something. We got to start booking it, I think.
Yeah, what time is it? 12:04? Okay, yeah, we got about 10 minutes. We should probably go then.
Yeah.
All right, man. So
We're still rocking it, yeah. Up to 45 minutes almost. Who is do you know Autumn de Wilde?
No, I don't.
She took all these photos of Elliott Smith.
Oh.
And there's an Elliott Smith book that's stories about Elliott Smith and her photos of him, and it's incredible. I got it for Christmas one year from somebody.
I'd love to see it.
It's so good. Next time you come over, I'll show it to you. It's amazing. Are you an Elliott Smith guy?
Yeah. Actually, you'd be surprised. Snap's more into Elliott Smith than I am.
Really?
Yeah, she's one of her favorite albums, Either Or.
Oh, it's incredible.
But she likes EXO as well. I know his first album.
Yeah. Well, one with like St. Ides Heaven and Needle in the Hay and all that stuff. That's a good one. I think all of his stuff is pretty good.
Yeah,
you can't really go wrong.
And what's the posture? Basement on a Hill.
Yeah.
I learned to play Memory Lane, which is a great song.
Such a great song.
You know, and it was like I learned to play it and sing it before I even worked out what it was about. And then after that, I was like, I loved it even more. You know, it was like,
From a Basement on the Hill. That song, is that the song?
Yeah, it's called Memory Lane. I think,
and then did he say that? He says that.
Yeah, so good, man.
Yeah.
Elliott Smith you can't recommend him enough, right?
Yeah, I took Courtney to see the documentary, the Heaven Adores You.
I haven't actually seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty good, yeah. I feel like the production was a little bit limited. Like, you have, like, a good 25 minutes of just sweeping shots of Portland, you know? But, I mean, as far from a standpoint of, you know, content, it's good. From a standpoint of, like, who was Elliott Smith as a person, it's great. You know, it does deliver that for
That's
sure.
Fantastic.
You know, yeah.
This, by the way, is how things. This is pretty good, like normal conversation that you and I would just have.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, we start talking about mixtapes, and then boom, we're talking about photographers and Elliott Smith and everything, and
it all kind of just drifts, but it all comes back to the theme. You know? Yeah. No, this is good.
I definitely put Elliott Smith on mixtapes and stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
What was the last time you made a mixtape? Do you remember, or like a mixed CD? Or something?
You know, I think that I was actually in preparation of this when we were back at work. I was going through my Spotify. There was a time where like you could sync your iTunes with Spotify, and I had a mixtape called "Fuck a Classic Album" because a rapper, I think it was also Slug Atmosphere. He had a lyric that was "Fuck a classic album. I give my life 5 mics," because the source, the basically hip hop's Rolling Stones. With the Source magazine, their review scale was in mics, so it's like 3 instead of stars was 3 mics, 5 in them. There was only like 10 albums that have ever been given 5 mics.
Really?
In the Source, something like that. Yeah, I could be wrong about this. But,
that's awesome, actually.
But he had a lyric called "Fuck a classic album. I give my life 5 mics," and that's what I named. That's what I named that mixtape after. And it's funny because there's not really that much hip hop on it either. It's really weird. And that was made probably in like 2010, 2011, and it's probably the last one I made. Well, no, the one I made for Courtney probably was the last one I made, which would have been 2013.
I think that goes back to what you were saying about mixtapes being tied to relationships, because the last actual mixed CDs I made were definitely for Steph, you know? Yeah. And, you know, I have done mixes where it's like, oh, she doesn't know much about REM, so I do like an REM mix or something like that. And we did a series of those. It was like Blur, They Might Be Giants, you know, these bands that you are kind of not quite. I mean, REM's not a cult act, but you know, these bands that she may not have heard a lot of. And I would just kind of make them and give those to her. And so, but they end up being like, after a while, like I made a mix CD for a friend of mine. And I didn't think much of it at the time, you know, like I just made, but it was a girl, you know, or a woman, and afterwards, after I made the mix CD, I felt kind of bad about it, because there's like that scene in High Fidelity where he makes a mix tape for a girl, and it's like it's a faux pas because it's like a relationship building exercise.
The girl that like comes to the record shop and is like, "You're DJ Rob Gordon, holy shit!"
Yeah, exactly. And like I sort of, the penny dropped after I made that mix CD that it was like, wait a second, this may not be appropriate to do anymore. So after that, I chilled out on it, because even though that wasn't my vibe, you know, like when I did it, you know, it was like, this could be misconstrued.
That scene in that movie is interesting because she's sitting there asking this guy
who's kind of been built up as this, music nerd, music aficionado, like critic, whatever. She's like, what's your all-time Desert Island top 5 albums? And he's like, oh, what do you mean? Like in the club, at home? And like, that's such a dumb question. Like, if it was some pimple-faced dude asking him that question, he would have thrown him out of the record store. But of course, it's like a fucking cute girl. Yeah. It's like, Rob Gordon, oh my God, I used to listen to you DJ and blah, blah, blah. This is the new Stereo Lab, isn't it? Like, I kind of hate that scene of that movie because it's such a dumb question, but it gives this opportunity for the script to kind of open up and for the falling action to take place in a way. It's kind of a plot driver.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I think it kind of works because it's a cute girl, and the whole point of it is that he's giving her more patience because he's interested in her, and this is his sort of moment of temptation because he's sort of cleared things up with his girlfriend. They
got back together,
and it's like he's going to be a good guy now, and then he starts to
he kind of starts to drift,
and then he realizes what he's doing, and that's supposed to be the moment where he we actually see him grow. So in that sense, I think it sets up that growth.
When the fuck is it gonna end? When he pulls the headphones out of it? Where's the console? When's this gonna stop?
That's an interesting movie as a music nerd, because it's definitely like a music nerd's favorite movie, just because it deals with music nerds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I don't think we could do this episode without talking about High Fidelity.
Because, it's kind of true. We have to kind of talk.
Because that movie is almost built on a mixtape in a way.
I would even say that, and we should talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, but we'll get back to that real quick. One thing that's interesting, or that I found interesting, is in the book, High Fidelity, he actually gives some rules for making mixtapes. Yeah. And I disagree with them.
Really?
Well, one thing that he says that I think is really almost borderline offensive, he's like, don't mix black music and white music.
Oh, he does say that, doesn't he?
I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I never followed that rule ever in my life.
He says that in the book? He didn't say that in the movie.
Not in the movie, no. I think they knew better than to say something that's
even back then, Really? He says that?
Yeah, but I think it's supposed to be like, not like, in like a screwdriver kind of way. I think it's just more like he's trying to say, that they won't gel or something. I don't know. I
don't think Nick Hornby is like that. No, I don't think he's a dick.
Well, and that could be the thing too, because it's a character saying this. It's not
That's true,
Nick Hornby himself, so it may be some kind of point. But I remember, I'll have to find the passage and make sure I'm doing this right.
I read the book too. I read the book probably 12 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
If not even longer than that,
But I just remember like that and being like super surprised. Like, why wouldn't I put James Brown next to Nirvana if I thought it worked? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Do it,
Like, I'll put Deep Purple and Aretha Franklin, Highway Star followed by
Ain't No Way. That's fine with me.
Right? Yeah. Who cares? Fuck you, Nick Hornby.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I going to say? It's interesting because he comes from. He might not have been part of the scene, but the whole whatever wave of ska, was big in England, like all the Selector.
The second wave.
Yeah. That was the first time black people and white people ever played in the same bands together without being like studio musicians and shit.
Right.
Like that, the Selector had a black female lead singer in like the 70s. That was unheard of. Like that kind of and that's why it surprises me. Like he can't mix. I don't know. It just seems silly.
Yeah.
And,
well, I don't think. I don't know what
Madness had black and white members. I don't know.
I honestly don't know what point he was getting at. There were some bands there were some doo-wop groups that mixed black and white members.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Crests were mixed, and there's another one. I'd have to stop and I'd have to look it up, but there are not many. Because even back then, they segregated out even the shows.
Yeah,
so,
like the Chitlin circuit and all that. Which is
it's awful.
It was terrible.
But that's a whole big topic. We should talk about that sometime. About the way racism influenced the way people listen to music.
Absolutely.
But it's also interesting that like the mixtape culture extends to that Guardians of the Galaxy movie, because those two, it's just a movie soundtrack. That's totally a different thing, but it's sort of built around the idea of a mixtape.
That's the thing I really liked about that movie. Yeah. About how he still used the Walkman and stuff. Chris Pratt's character.
He's listening to
like Ooh Child and stuff.
Yeah, and there's some cool stuff on that, but there's also like Jackson 5 and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also some stuff that's like, I use the word disreputable music, like Brandy, You're a Fine.
Yeah.
And I love that about it because it's like rescuing, it's kind of redeeming these sort of corny old songs.
That's true. Well, it's like what is the Ally McBeal? What is the Blue Suede song?
Yeah. Hooked on a Feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like.
Or was that dumb? There's something about Mary, maybe.
I don't know.
It was one of the two.
Did they use that song in that?
Yeah, I think so.
But like, that's a song that, like, before that movie, it was like nobody's rocking to that.
Exactly.
Even though it's actually kind of cool in a corny way.
It is kind of cool, yeah.
And it's like I love the way they were able to do that and sort of rescue those songs and recontextualize them and make them interesting. And that's really, I think, what you're trying to do with the mixtape is like put these songs together into a certain context that speaks to you.
Yeah.
And maybe communicate something to your intended audience.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, for sure. But yeah, I think the Guardians of the Galaxy, the whole mixtape thing, I think was a really good vehicle because it gave it all this retro appeal, Yeah. And he wasn't listening to like new music; he was listening to old soul music and black and white artists too.
Absolutely.
I still can't. I really can't believe that didn't like throw me off when I actually heard that.
Well, like I said,
the first time, or read that the first time. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if I can't recall whether or not he has a rationale for it. I remember reading it. I didn't get the sense that he was saying it like in a racist way. He was saying it, although I mean, I don't know if you can really avoid a racist reading of it, intentional or not.
Right.
But I think there was some sort of thing of like that it would be too schizophrenic or something.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But look it up. But.
Well, there's an easier way to say that, though. Like, don't put, you could even just say genres.
Yeah.
Don't put like, Led Zeppelin and James Brown back to back. That's all you got to say, not black music.
I hate that, though, because I think James Brown and Led Zeppelin
kind of works together, yeah. Well, and I'm just those
maybe,
probably might
don't
work.
Put
and
Nas next to Led Zeppelin.
Right.
Maybe,
But God, that's awful, man. Like, I'm sorry I keep harping on that. I just really, and it's kind of like I love that book, and now it's like it's troublesome a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'll find the quote and make sure I'm not
Yeah.
We're now going to have Lou Christie, Ray Stevens, and Nick Hornby beat me up in an alley.
I would say, here's the thing. I would like for Nick Hornby to be pissed at us. Like, that'd be great. You can't buy that kind of publicity, Chris. Kidding me? Nick Hornby, if you're listening, write a think piece for The Independent calling out Album of the Year podcast.
Yeah.
It will increase our listenership tenfold.
Yeah. 60 guys.
Yeah. Explain to us what you meant by,
We'll be the Hannibal Buress of Nick Hornby. All right. Well, hey, we're back at work, so we're going to have to call it.
Continue our day, our work day.
But it was fun, man.
It was a lot of fun. We will catch you guys on the flip. Hopefully this will be up sometime within the next couple of weeks. And, have a great day.
Have a great one.
All right. So that was the Lunchtime episode. That was episode 1 of the Lunchtime Minisode series, Mixtapes. And there's a couple of things we wanted to address real quick at the end of that episode. It got kind of, not heated, but the topic we broached about Nick Hornby in the book High Fidelity, talking about his opinion on you can't put black music and white music on the same mixtape. Obviously, this is a controversial opinion, and we feel like we needed to kind of just take a couple more minutes to address that and talk about it. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to make sure we gave a fair airing to it.
Absolutely.
I didn't want it to just be something that I just dumped out and people leaving thinking, wow, Nick Hornby's kind of a racist, and leave it at that. Because I don't think that's really fair, right?
Yeah.
Let me read the exact quote, and this is from the book High Fidelity. So this is a 1995 novel. The movie is based on it, but the movie doesn't quote this verbatim.
Right.
I want to say, keep in mind that this is coming from the voice of Rob.
The voice of Rob Gordon, the main character.
And while
High
he's
Fidelity.
very clearly sort of based on Nick Hornby himself, it's not necessarily true that Nick Hornby is speaking in his own voice here. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
We don't really know.
So I don't want to seem like I'm hitting, clubbing, like I'm missing that layer of abstraction. But okay, here it is. This is what he says. To me, making a tape is like writing a letter. There's a lot of erasing and rethinking and starting again. A good compilation tape, like breaking up, is hard to do. You've got to kick off with a corker to hold the attention, and then you've got to. I'm reading it off, not off of the actual page, but and then you've got to kick it up a notch or cool it a notch. And you can't have white music and black music together unless the white music sounds like black music. And you can't have two tracks by the same artist side by side unless you've done the whole thing in pairs. And there are a lot of rules. Or there are loads of rules. Yeah. So that gives you an idea. The key part here is right there in the middle. And you can't have white music and black music together unless the white music sounds like black music.
Yeah, and I think he tries to recover for what he said in the first statement by saying, unless the white music sounds like the black music. So I still think it's pretty troublesome that that's in that book, especially considering it was written in the 90s. But I think there's two ways we can look at this, right? I have been recently rewatching The Sopranos. Did you ever watch that show?
Never did.
So it's kind of the show that kicked off the kind of prestige television, right? It's a great show, but there's a lot of troublesome things going on in that show. There's sexism, there's racism, there's homophobia, there's all that stuff, but they're being carried out by these mobster characters, right? So Tony Soprano the main character has some very racist moments where he, gets mad at his daughter for dating a black guy, and that kind of thing because he's black. And, the writer of the show, is he that guy? Probably not. Tony Soprano is a character, So how do we disseminate, like, how similar is Nick Hornby, the person, to Rob Gordon, the character, I guess, is kind of maybe the question we're looking at here. But rewatching The Sopranos has kind of made me examine this and think about this a little more, I guess. And, I'm not saying that we should, not knock Nick Hornby for putting that in the book. I really think it's pretty troublesome that that's in the book. But then again, I don't think it diminishes what High Fidelity is. I don't think it diminishes the piece of art, I suppose. I don't know. What do you think?
My feeling is it's a pretty regressive, old school way of thinking and probably wasn't really even accurate in 1995. I first read the book probably year 2000. Shortly after seeing the movie, I saw the book, right? Or I read the book. And I hated the quote then, so just a few years on. I think it's important to recognize that Nick Hornby spends most of the rest of the book talking about how much he loves black music, as a white guy from England, and how much he loves it. So I think it's important. I think it's important to understand the context. If you're not familiar with the book or the movie, or you think this is not coming from some position of somebody who is trying to disrespect African American culture necessarily.
Right.
But I do think that the idea that to me, I just don't understand the point of view. It sounds like the point of view of someone who thinks these things should be segregated or were segregated or something. It almost sounds like the opinion of someone who grew up in a racially segregated musical, background, and just sort of took for granted that that's the natural state of things. Me, I will stick Lawrence Welk right next to Nas if I want to. You know what I mean? It can be the whitest sounding white music on earth, and then I'll put it next to the blackest sounding black music on earth if I think they go together, and I think that's natural. And then, put some K-pop on there, then you know what I mean? Like, why is race suddenly something that I guess it comes down to this. We shouldn't segregate people. We shouldn't segregate radio. There's no reason we should segregate mixtapes.
Right. Period. And the ironic thing about it is a lot of white music was source material for samples on hip hop songs.
Right.
A lot of jazz too, but a lot more rock and a lot more like psych and a lot more weird spacey stuff that you think went into a lot of the samples for hip hop songs in the 90s for sure. Which really, when I was getting into sample culture, it really surprised me. So
Right. So I guess it comes down to, I just object to the idea there being sort of, I don't want to be too strong with this, but the idea that there is white and black music from the standpoint of like these are categories for which there should be no mixing. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and in the movie too, when Laura, the character Laura, Rob's girlfriend, finds his top 5 best career choices or something like that, and one of them is like any musician except for classical or rap. So,
does he really say that?
He does say that in the movie, yeah. And he's listening to some rap songs in the movie when there are like a couple of those scenes in Championship Vinyl. There's like a De La Soul is playing, I think. So I don't think he's opposed to actually hip hop as an art form. Maybe he's just like, not like, I'm just a pasty white guy. Why would I be making rap music? Like back then it would have been probably, kind of strange. Now it's like, who cares?
But really not, because Jimmy Iovine, was doing stuff, right?
Well, Jimmy Iovine was a producer. I mean, Jimmy,
but that's kind of... Is that the thing, or what? Did he say he want to be an artist?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're talking about being I'm like being a musician in any kind of music outside of classical or rap.
Okay, no, I think there's context to that. Then
there is, and saying
this is post Vanilla Ice, pre Eminem, probably
exactly. yeah, for sure. Well, I think the first Eminem album had already came out, but yeah, it wasn't. I don't know. And then it wasn't, it was before the whole backpack hip hop scene with like Atmosphere and Sage Francis and A$AP Rock. It's before all of that took off too. Yeah. All of that stuff was largely still underground. So now it doesn't matter at all, but yeah, I don't know. There's different ways you can look at it. And, I think that it was good that we kind of took a minute or two to dissect it here, just because it kind of ended on that really kind of high note where it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe that, so.
Yeah. I still don't agree with him, but I don't think it condemns the book or anything like that.
No, I don't think so either.
It's just a bad rule.
It is. It is a bad rule for sure.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Tune in soon. We're going to have another episode of the regular old Album of the Year podcast coming your way.
Yes, we are. We hope you guys enjoyed 2013. And definitely tell us what you think of this lunchtime episode. We'd love to hear your feedback, because it's definitely something we really had fun doing, and we would love to do it again. And we probably will. But we'd love to hear what you guys think. So let us know on social media or in person, wherever you are. Instagram at AOTY Podcast, Twitter at the same handle, and AOTY Podcast at gmail.com. Thanks, guys.